For all of human history, cities were built to bring people together, to live, to work, to create the chaotic, vibrant friction of society. But this is no longer a given. A new kind of metropolis has emerged in the 21st century. We see the time-lapse. Steel skeletons climb into the sky, concrete is poured, and glass facades multiply with relentless speed. The process is a blur of machinery and manpower, and then it stops. The cranes are gone, the streets are paved, but the cars never come, the people never arrive. This is the city as a financial instrument, a ghost town built brand new. On one man-made island, there are over 400 residential buildings, a forest of towers engineered for a population that doesn't exist. This is not urban decay. This is a design flaw on a planetary scale. 400 buildings, zero human activity. Listen closely. You expect the constant hum of a major city, the distant rumble of subways, the chorus of 1,000 air conditioners, the faint noise of human voices. Instead, there is nothing. The only sound is the wind moving between the empty balconies of a concrete cemetery. The city is complete, but it is born into a profound, unsettling quiet. From the faceless concrete towers of speculative real estate, we move to a different kind of ghost town. A place that tried to sell a fairy tale and instead created a dystopian nightmare. This is Burj Al Babas, a luxury development launched in Turkey in the early 2010s. The concept was meant to be exclusive, your own private castle, a slice of European fantasy for wealthy foreign buyers. The reality is a glitch in the matrix. 732 identical villas. Every single one is a copy-paste of the next. The same Gothic windows, the same ornate trim, the same pointed turrets. They form an army of tiny castles marching over the hills, an endless repetition of a single design that feels profoundly unnatural. The project moved fast, but the ambition was built on a fragile foundation. The money ran out, the buyers vanished, everything stopped. The result is not just an empty town, it's a monument to a failed idea. Urban life requires variation, friction, and a mix of uses to thrive. This place has none. There is not one shop, not a single cafe, just hundreds of empty, identical castles slowly rotting on the Turkish hills. If the Turks simply copied hundreds of castles on a pre-existing hill, Chinese developers went a step further. For their ambitions, they manufactured new land right in the ocean. Welcome to Forest City, Malaysia, a mega project launched in 2014, financed by a massive Chinese real estate group. The plan was not just to build a city, but to build the ground it stands on. The process was brutal. First, the open ocean, then millions of tons of sand dumped non-stop to create a raw foundation. Immediately after, concrete mixers moved in, pouring a solid cap before the sea could reclaim its territory. The air filled with the sharp scent of fresh concrete mixing with the salt spray, an entire city built from the seabed up. 4 artificial islands, 14 square kilometers of new sovereign land, an area more than double the size of Gibraltar. From the air, it's an imposing vision of the future. Gleaming residential towers line the waterfront, wide avenues slice through green parks. The infrastructure seems flawless, ready for a massive urban population. This is the signature of a new development model: Chinese capital, Chinese planning, and terrifying Chinese speed. The buildings appeared faster than people could ever arrive. A city designed for 700,000 inhabitants. Today, more than a decade later, only a few tens of thousands live here, surrounded by a vast, silent emptiness. And if Asian megaprojects remained empty sets, Spain's Cesena showed what happens when real people actually move into a concrete mirage. A plan for 13,000 apartments built to absorb the explosive growth of nearby Madrid. It was a speculator's paradise. The project was called El Quiñón, a massive bet on an endless real estate boom. Then, the 2008 financial crisis hit. The money vanished, the buyers disappeared, the streets fell silent, surrounded by empty, echoing buildings. A perfect ghost town. But here, the story twists. Years passed. Housing pressure in the capital became unbearable, and families desperate for affordable homes began to move in. A family carries the last box into their new apartment. They look out the window expecting a neighborhood. They see concrete, endless rows of it. No schools, no clinics, not even a bus stop. Today, more than 15,000 people live here, yet the feeling is one of profound isolation. You live surrounded by thousands of neighbors, but to buy a carton of milk, you have to get in your car and drive to a different town. The project filled its apartments, but it failed to build a city. The basic services, transport, education, jobs, were never integrated into the initial plan. They arrived years too late, patched together at great cost. Every day, the residents are forced to fight the consequences of a city built not for living, but for profit. Realizing that regular suburbs no longer sell, investors tried to engineer life from scratch. In China's Ordos, they solved the problem bluntly, by flooding an empty steppe with coal billions. This is the Kangbashi district, born in the early 2000s from a massive energy boom. The logic was aggressive, and it was simple. Build a metropolis first, and the people will follow the money. Vast avenues, sprawling residential blocks, and monumental museums designed by star architects all emerged from the desert dust. An entire urban ecosystem was planned to house hundreds of thousands of inhabitants, backed by tens of billions of dollars in public and private investment. A city built for 1 million people. The result was a profound failure of assumption. By 2010, the discrepancy was a global headline. The actual population? Under 30,000. A ghost city. The only sound is the hollow echo of footsteps bouncing off the marble facades of empty government plazas. It was a monument to pure economic force, completely disconnected from the slow, messy process of creating a community. The project wasn't a miscalculation, it was a declaration of faith in capital over culture. The assumption that jobs and housing automatically create life proved fatally wrong. Over time, some people did trickle in, but the initial void left a permanent scar. Wide, perfectly paved roads stretch out into the horizon, leading nowhere. While China bet on brute force, South Korea's Songdo chose a different weapon: technology. They decided to engineer a perfect city, not on empty land, but on land that didn't even exist. The process started in the early 2000s. Engineers reclaimed 53 square kilometers from the sea, an area almost the size of Manhattan. On this blank slate, they built a data-driven utopia. Streets were wired with sensors to manage traffic flow. Pneumatic tubes beneath the pavement sucked garbage directly from buildings. Everything was optimized. Everything was efficient, a perfect algorithm for living. But the city felt dead. The planners had built the entire urban machine before the people arrived. Gleaming towers, immaculate parks, and flawless roads were all in place, waiting. The problem? You can design a perfect street grid, but can you design the shortcut everyone takes to their favorite coffee shop? A city's life isn't in its infrastructure. It's in the messy, inefficient, and unpredictable habits of its people. Today, over 160,000 residents are slowly creating that life, but the city's early years were a sterile warning. It was a high-tech body without a pulse. The lesson from Songdo's sterile beginnings was sharp and clear. You cannot activate a community with a blueprint. While Asia tried to program a society, Nigeria decided to simply wall itself off from the real world, right in the ocean. This is Eco-Atlantic. It is not land that was settled, but land that was manufactured. 9 square kilometers of territory dredged from the bottom of the Atlantic, a new peninsula of imported sand and concrete poured onto the coastline of Lagos. The raw materials are not just stone and steel, they are exclusion and ambition, forming a platform designed to float above the reality of the continent, a fortress of wealth. The division is brutally physical. A massive concrete seawall rises from the waves, separating the city from its own coast. On one side, the sprawling, chaotic energy of Lagos, a metropolis of over 20 million people. On the other side, silence. The air here smells different, not of the city, but of fresh asphalt and ocean salt, washing over sterile glass towers and empty boulevards. This city was built for separation. Billed as the new Dubai of Africa, the multi-billion-dollar investment was never for Lagos. It was for a sliver of it. Its primary defense against the ocean is an 8.5-kilometer long sea revetment. Its nickname is the Great Wall of Lagos, a perfect description. It wasn't built to protect a population, it was built to isolate an elite. The result is a stunningly engineered island, a showcase for global capital that remains almost entirely uninhabited, disconnected by its very price tag. The cost of a luxury apartment here can easily pass $2 million. The average annual income in Nigeria is just over 2,000. But concrete walls and glass towers are just expensive boxes. In Tianducheng, developers tried to buy a city's very soul by shamelessly copying Paris. Just outside the metropolis of Hangzhou, a new city was engineered from the ground up, following a precise blueprint. Wide boulevards, grand public squares, and residential blocks built in a perfect 19th century European style. At its heart, a steel replica of the Eiffel Tower rises into the sky. The entire project was designed to house 100,000 residents, a self-contained dream. But a blueprint doesn't create life. For years, the city was a ghost town. The grand architecture was a hollow shell, home to only a few thousand people. A thin layer of industrial smog would settle on the cold steel of the fake Parisian landmark, a stark reminder of its true location. You can replicate the appearance of a city, but you cannot fabricate its soul. A city needs jobs, social networks, and shared habits. Without them, it's just an empty stage. The few who lived there wandered through the vast, empty plazas like paid extras on a movie set after the main show was canceled. But neither a fake Paris with its Eiffel Tower nor exclusive African enclaves can compare to the collapse of Dubai's sand-built ambitions. In 2002, the emirate launched Palm Jebel Ali. The plan was monumental, a man-made island 50% larger than its famous sibling, Palm Jumeirah, designed to create over 100 kilometers of new coastline. For more than a decade, however, the project was a ghost. Its unfinished, sandy fronds were just outlines in the turquoise water. No buildings, no roads, just over 100 million cubic meters of dredged sand and rock, slowly being reclaimed by the waves. The only sound was the dead silence of a halted construction site adrift in the sea, a monument to greed. The unstoppable ambition of Dubai met an immovable object, the global economy. The financial crisis of 2008 didn't just slow the project down, it stopped it cold. For years, the development was frozen, a powerful demonstration that even the deepest pockets in the world are powerless against global economic cycles. The money was there, the market was not. After more than a decade of pause, new plans were announced in 2024, a faint echo of the original vision. But the core lesson remains imprinted on the coastline. The sand is suspended, caught between a spectacular promise and the harsh reality of the tide. While sheikhs sculpt islands for billionaires, the foundation of a developed economy is quietly decaying in Japan. This isn't a story of a market crash or a construction project gone wrong. It is a slow decay. The streets are immaculate, the infrastructure is perfect, but the camera pushes in on a single home. The garden is a tangle of weeds, the windows are dark, and the mailbox is overflowing with years of unopened letters. The only sound is a profound ringing silence, the sound of a neighborhood where children no longer play. These abandoned houses are called IKEA, and they are symptoms of a deep systemic failure, a quiet one. According to the 2023 national census, the country has 9 million of these vacant homes. That is 13.8% of its entire housing stock, one of the highest rates in the developed world. 9 million empty homes, enough to house the entire population of New York City. The problem isn't speculative bubbles or poor planning, it's a demographic implosion. The population is aging, shrinking, and retreating into a few megacities, leaving entire residential districts to simply rot. This creates a bizarre paradox. A nation of flawless infrastructure haunted by a growing absence. They have mastered the science of building, but they have no idea how to manage a city that is structurally shrinking. While Japan empties out naturally, China tried to cheat the system. They started building metropolises on spec. Meet Calphidian. This was a grand industrial wager in Hebei province conceived as a futuristic coastal port. The plan was built on pure state-level arrogance. Erect a city from scratch and the economy will simply show up. Heavy industry, advanced logistics, a population of up to 1 million people. They built it all. Massive residential blocks, 8-lane avenues designed for relentless traffic, a complete urban skeleton. But the only thing moving is the wind whistling down empty boulevards, an echo where there should be the hum of a metropolis. Planners assumed the jobs would arrive at the same time as the concrete, but the synchronization failed. The 2020 census delivered the verdict. Not 1 million people, not even 500,000. The official count was just 350,000 residents. The result is a city running at a fraction of its capacity, a colossal machine waiting for its operators. This isn't a dead city, it's a city born prematurely, an urban space trapped in a permanent state of anticipation, waiting for a life that is chronically late. When industry fails to fill a city, authorities find a new solution, a cheat code. The Chinese state simply ordered its people to move. This was the strategy for Changkong, a new district in the city of Kunming. The plan was to create an administrative and educational hub from scratch. First came the symbols of power. A colossal government palace rises from an empty plain, fronted by a vast cyclopean square. Then, the decree went out. The entire provincial government and multiple universities must relocate here. A city built by force. The result is a strange paradox. A lone student walks down a kilometer-long sidewalk, perfectly paved and utterly deserted. The space feels artificial, almost plastic. There are no messy, spontaneous shops, no life spilling onto the streets, only perfect lines in the sound of a single pair of footsteps. It has the infrastructure, but it lacks the chaotic, vital pulse of a real city. By 2023, the official population exceeded 700,000 people. That is the entire population of Frankfurt, Germany. But the urban buzz never arrived. The streets remain silent. The life is on paper only. 700,000 residents locked in a sterile void.
And Chunggong, and Taofidian, and even depopulating Japan all hit the same critical nerve of modern urbanism.
This is the core lesson from a historical period of blind faith. Construction violently outpaced reality. A city is not defined by its buildings. It is defined by habitability. These are not ghost towns. They are cities outside their own time, engineered for a future that may never arrive. It forces the final question. What becomes of these concrete skeletons when grand ambitions finally collide with the hard reality of demography? A city is a social network, made of flesh and blood. You cannot pour it from concrete.